welcome to Fandom Family Chats. I'm Jeanette, and I'm joined by Amanda.
Hello.
And Eve.
Hey.
And today we're going to discuss Friday Night Lights and our top 10 Eric and Tami moments. Some will be Eric and Tami together. Some will be them individual. But we're going to just discuss them in general.
So most of mine are Eric and Tami together.
I'm glad you were able, because I wasn't able to find as many as I wanted to of them together, other than like just their little like marital banter. Like it wasn't like big moments other than
I had a hard time finding good moments of them, like good specific moments of them together. Most of mine are separate, but we can talk about them. We can talk about them in general though too.
Yeah, because I mean I love them together, but it's more of just like their interactions that make me laugh. There's no like there's a couple moments that I have, but not many.
It's just a very real relationship. Like it's how relationships work in real life. Like they're sitting there fighting and they're angry at each other, but it's like, you know, they work it out.
Yeah. There was one that this is not on my list. Obviously, there was one I was trying to find stuff today, and there was one where they're having a big argument. And I don't even remember what the argument is about. I think it's about when they find out about the mailbox that they've been using. And, you know, Tammy's kind of questioning, like, did you know about this? And they're having this big argument. He's yelling and she's yelling. And then he walks away and she's like, where are you going? And he's like, I'm going to get milk. I mean, just like stuff like that. It just makes me laugh because it's so real. And it's how like a marriage, it's probably the most realistic TV marriage that I know of on a show.
Yeah.
I
would agree. They are a couple.
Yeah, definitely.
Like that's a real marriage.
Yeah.
It's not always pretty. It's not always fun.
No. But they're devoted and they love each other. And there's no doubt about that. So
exactly. You know, they're with each other. They're with each other. And that's it. They're going to figure out whatever they need to figure out.
Yeah. Well, I'll start off here because my number 10 is sort of one of the funny moments, but it is one of them together. And it's one, and I watched it today because I wanted to have like the exact wording. It's right after Matt proposes to Julie, and then he comes and he asks Eric after the fact. And so Eric goes to Tami and he's like, Matt asked your daughter to marry him. And she sits there for a minute and she says, Julie? And he's like, no, Gracie Bell. I mean, like, and it's just so funny because I love that. And I mean, they just go on and on, this back and forth. And then finally she's like, I don't know why you're yelling at me. I think we agree about this. Like, but they're just still fighting over it. And I love that scene.
I was just thinking about that moment. I just added to my honorable mentions, but I think it was just the way she said it. She's like, I think we agree on this. Like he stormed out.
Yeah.
It's like, what are they I was like, what the heck are they arguing about? Like,
he's just mad. He's arguing with himself.
Yeah, basically.
And she's just there.
But that whole scene is so funny anyways. I mean, even when Matt goes to him and he's like, well, we don't actually need your permission. And he's looking at him like, what are you talking about? Like,
oh God, I've never been more fearful for Matt's life. In the entire time I watched that show, I was like, Matt, you need to stop talking because you're going to die.
Oh yeah, I felt like this small. I just kept crouching down. I'm like, oh no, stop talking.
Yeah. And then when I think he said, or, you know, we could just go to your dad and say, hey, we're getting married. Like,
or no, we got married.
It's like, have you ever met Eric? Like, that's not going to work.
Not gonna
this
work.
Never happened. You need to go ask him. All right, I'll go next with my number 10.
Okay.
So mine is like a whole other conversation with them. And it's right when Matt and Julie kind of just started dating. And hold on, I'm just gonna have to pull it up because it's gonna be funnier. Oh, it's when Eric's like, she's on the phone with Matt Saracen. She goes, I don't think this is going away. He goes, I haven't even had my coffee yet. Well, I'm just saying, I think it's becoming a thing. And you know what a thing is. And he's like, at least she's not interested in a serial killer or one of the Riggins.
I forgot that's what he said, but I was going to say or a Riggins because
I love when he says that, or a Riggins. It was just like they're going back and forth, and all of a sudden he throws that in, and you just die laughing. You're like, okay.
They're so funny.
So that's my number 10 moment. I love that.
I like that.
It's an early one, but it's a good one.
That's a good one.
Eve, what about yours?
My first few are more funny moments. This one is from when it was one of those parties that Tami had to throw for the team, and she didn't know about it beforehand, so she had to put it all together like in 24 hours or something.
The barbecue.
There was one point during the party where she was hiding under the table just to get away from everyone. And Eric came down to see what her deal was, and then she said, "You know what? Up there, I'm gonna play good wife, coach's wife, and I'm gonna smile and look pretty. But down here, I'm pissed."
Yep.
And yet again, I was
another
like,
real moment.
Yeah, I was exactly. I was like, that sounds like something I would do, because I hate parties, so I probably would be hiding under the table.
I love her with those barbecues because she hates doing them. Yeah, she does them every time, and she plays her part, and she does what's needed to be done because she knows he needs it and his team needs it. And I think there's even one time where she throws it back at him like, "Cookouts bring morale." I mean, she's like, just like, this is what we have to do, and
And he was like, "You're saying you want to throw a party?" He's like, "No, honey, I think we need to throw a party."
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so my number 9 is, it's like a compilation of moments. It's just Eric, but I just have like Eric and Lorraine, which is Matt's grandma, because I love all of his scenes with her. Every time she goes over there and she's the one making the sandwich or getting a piece of pie, and he is so sweet to her every single time.
I love that.
And I love
it's just so cute. Yeah.
Yeah. She tells him like, "You come back," and he's like, "Oh, I will. I'll come back for some more pie." I mean, so sweet. I love it because I love her anyways. And so,
oh yeah,
it just really makes me like, oh, because I think he even went to pick up, wasn't it? What I know, like Matt, it was after his dad died.
Oh, that's on my list.
Okay. Well, then you know what? I'll let you talk about that. We won't dive into that one yet.
Yeah, that is one of my favorite moments.
I like that.
All right. So Jeanette, you already said your number 9,
yes,
right?
That's my number 9.
So my number 9 was just an Eric moment. And it was when he builds the football field for East Dillon. And it was, I don't know. I honestly, I don't know why it's one of my favorites, because it is such a, like, why wouldn't he kind of moment. Like that was but then again, like he just put his heart and soul into any team that he had to go coach. It was, that was his team, and he was going to do anything he needed to do. And it just showed a lot of Eric's character come out in that, where he'll put the hard work in and anything he needs to do to be able to take care of his team. And I love that moment.
Yeah.
Well, he was given 2 choices. He was like, "No, I'm going with the third choice."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like he's going to take care of his own. And I love that. I
mean, other people might be given that sort of struggle with that team and look elsewhere and try to find another job, an easier job to deal with. But, he didn't. He stepped up to the challenge and, made that team into something really great.
Oh, yeah.
It definitely speaks to his character and his dedication and loyalty. So what about you, Eve? What's your number 9?
My number 9 is another funny one. It's actually Tami, Eric, and Julie. And it was, Sunday morning, Julie and Tami are heading off to church, and he's, hungover.
Yes.
So he's still laying in bed. And she comes in like holding Gracie Bell, and Julie's behind her. It's like, "It's just your loving family ready to wish you, a happy Sunday. We're heading to church now." And then she said to Julie, "Okay, say bye to your dad." And she said, "Bye, Dad." And she said, "Yell bye louder."
Yeah. I can't remember. Why was he hungover? Was that the night he got into the argument with that guy? With that guy from their
feel like, there were a lot of, I feel like there was more than one time where he was like hungover the next day, but it could have been something with Buddy too. I don't remember.
Yeah. I feel like it's a buddy moment.
May have been. Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like he was drunk a lot of the times. Like, I don't ever feel like, that was the main thing of the show. Like,
I just remember that time with him and that guy, because I know that he got really wasted that night. He got a fist fight. Oh
yeah, that ex-boyfriend of Tammy's.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think
you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're
right.
Because that's the only time. That, and then the time when they're on the road with Buddy and the other coaches and they all get wasted. But those are the only times I remember like him being like absolutely smashed. But I think that's what it was, because he gets in a fight with this guy. And I mean, of course, Tammy, that's not on my list. Is that on anybody's list?
No, not mine.
Okay.
I wasn't listening to you. I have no idea.
When he gets in that fist fight, because that's another moment that I love.
Oh, no, it's not on mine.
Just the way she kind of just stands up and just walks away. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, she's sitting there and she's like, come on, y'all. Come on. Come on. And then she's like, you know what? Whatever. And she just gets up and leaves.
She just leaves. Yeah. I love it. So we're on to number 8. So my number 8 is the moment it's just Eric when he, with the East Dillons players, when they burn the old jerseys before getting the new ones. I just really like that, because they were all, I can't remember exactly what happened. These are the moments I wish I went back and watched today, but they were all just, it was such bad morale. And
it was after the first game, like he forfeited without the players having any say, and they were all pissed at him.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then who gave him the jersey? Somebody. Who was that?
I don't remember. It's somebody I don't know if we knew. It's somebody he used to know, because I know wasn't that they got in a bunch of trouble because he didn't really have the money for that. He was having to use his own personal account.
Yeah, and it was Joel from Parenthood who played the guy who gave him the jerseys.
Yeah, I don't.
That's all I remember. I was just like, oh look, it's Joel from Parenthood.
Yeah, because he paid for him, but then I think he got that money back.
I know that
I think so, because Tammy was like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, it's $40 for the dry cleaners." I was like, "That is not $40 for the dry cleaners."
That's right, because she found a missing check, and I was like, I'm pretty sure it was like thousands of dollars. Like it wasn't.
Oh yeah, I mean, can you imagine how much new uniforms and everything is for a football team?
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
That's another just showing his character. He didn't have to do that.
Yeah,
they could have just played what they had, but he, to boost them around, to make them all feel better. He did it. He probably shouldn't have done it without talking to his wife. That was a big boo-boo, but
he did that all the time. He would do things without talking to his wife.
He was probably he's one of those ask forgiveness, not permission kind of guys. Like,
I was just about to say ask forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah, that's what he was doing.
But she would do the same thing every now and then.
Oh yeah.
I feel like that was kind of just their relationship, and they knew they could do it. And well,
she cared just as much about those kids and stuff as he did. So I think
oh yeah.
I agree on that.
That's actually one of my things I don't like about. That's actually, I think, my only thing I did not like about Friday Night Lights is how it ended. And I know the whole thing was like he gave up for her. Like that's the whole show. Like he gave up all his. I don't know. It was so sad for me, them leaving Texas, I guess.
Yeah, I can see that, but I like it. I don't know. That's on my list, so I won't tell you where yet, but.
No, it is actually on my list too, because I love that he gave up his, livelihood and job and like life to move across the country for her. Mm-hmm. And so it is on my list. I don't know when. Oh yeah, I do. So it is on my list, but that part also, I'm like, but also she went from stay-at-home mom to counselor to like dean of a college. I'm like, how did we?
Well, she went to principal and then back to school counselor and then to dean of college.
And then, like what? I just felt like so like.
That's a crazy jump.
That part I just didn't like. Every other aspect of the show I absolutely love.
Yeah.
Like I love how they did everything else with the show, but that part, it always gets me. Not to be a negative Nancy over here, but
gosh, Amanda.
That one just gets me every time. I'm like, how?
Yeah, because school counselor and school principal require 2 very different degrees.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it is because I've been in the school districts and stuff like that. And maybe in my head, I'm like, it's not real.
Yeah.
It's a TV show, Amanda. It's not real life.
Yeah.
But somehow my mind just always
It
gets
should be.
right.
Yeah, no, it's a big jump.
Friday Night Lights is my life.
Texas forever.
Texas forever.
For me.
I know, right? I'm here wearing my t-shirt like I know anything about Texas forever, but
all right.
I thought Tim Riggins was actually there. I'll make it happen.
Oh, it's my turn.
It is your time.
All right, number 8. Oh, when Tami went to East Dillon to be with what's his name? Eric. Oh my gosh. I'm off
Coach.
on a tangent now.
The heart and soul of our show. You forgot his name.
Ugh. So yeah, no, when Tami went to East Dillon to be with Eric.
Yeah.
I love that. And I mean, again, it's the same thing where she gave up something for her to move back with him. Isn't that how it happened? Did she get fired or she get kind of pushed? She got kind of pushed out.
It was the whole Becky situation. She got pushed out and she was just like, you know what? I'd rather just go where I'm needed.
Yeah. But I like that she went over there. That she didn't just quit. She didn't just stay home. She wanted to go be in East Dillon and she knew she could make a change there.
Yeah.
And she did. And she was amazing like always.
Yeah.
Because Tami's awesome.
She's amazing. For
E,
sure.
what's your number 8?
My number 8 was really early on when they didn't really know Landry yet at all. I think Landry was driving Matt and Julie to the cheer championship. It just occurred to me what the situation was. It was like the cheer classic, as Tami nicely corrected him. The cheer classic. And I think like Eric was still trying to come up with all of these ways to prevent Matt and Julie from spending time together. So he was like, oh, I'm going to make the team go to the, cheer classic. And then Julie was like, cool, I'm going to drive up with Matt and Landry then. So Landry's taking off in his car with Julie in it. And he bumps the curb and then Tami yells, be careful, whoever you are. I don't know why it popped into my head, but like any time when any of them were interacting with Landry was just hilarious. Lance.
Oh
Lance.
my gosh. Landry Lance.
It's actually Landry. It's like, what? My name is Landry.
Come here, Lance.
It's like, Landry, just go with it. Your name is Lance now.
I mean, did he ever call him the right name? I don't even know if he did.
Maybe once, but I think it was mostly Lance.
I think once, and I think it was like a sincere moment.
Yeah.
Like when he was talking to him or something. I think he called him Landry, but I don't know. Half the time I call him Lance, just out of pure habit of
right. So funny.
Poor guy. He has no idea what his name is anymore.
No,
I think
no idea.
he answers to both.
Poor guy.
That was a good one.
My number 7. My number 7 is when Eric and Tami both step in for the McCoys, for JD and his mom, after like JD's dad like beats him up there in the parking lot. Like not only like, they both went out there and, Eric broke it up and what he did, but just the kind of, them taking them back home and letting them like stay there and just, I feel like Eric even had a conversation with him just to kind of let him know, like, this isn't okay. You can't make excuses for this. And I love, they do that for, so many of the kids on the show, to just be there for them. For the ones that don't have the parents that are doing what they should be. They're like a second parent to all of them. And not just Eric, because I feel like Tami does it too. Like she's always there to kind of help them all out.
And that eventually blew up in their faces too, because I remember after after CPS came to their house, then like they were who was it? The wife was pissed at Tami.
Oh, JD's mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, were you not in that parking lot? Like,
I mean, beat up your kid.
I mean,
okay.
Legally, they have no other choice.
Right.
You know, legally, as a counselor, as a coach,
as a teacher, it's probably the scariest and worst part of my job. Luckily, I've never had to do it, but you know,
I have.
Yeah.
I've had to do it before, and it was.
I haven't had to do it yet. It's only been 6 years. I might have to do it at some point.
That's so sad.
Yeah, it's not a fun thing to do, but I mean, sometimes you have to trust the system and do what you think needs to be done. I mean, as a counselor, as a teacher, as a coach, you know, you have to. It's legally you have to.
Yeah. I think they would have done it anyways. I think
at least here in Texas it is. I don't know about other states.
Oh, I think it is everywhere.
I think it's a federal law, pretty much.
No.
Okay. And I know for sure for Texas, that's how it is. Right. Like, you're legally bound. You have to do it. So if they didn't do it, they would have been in trouble themselves. Yeah. I mean, like they said in the show, we have to do it, and there's no other choice. Even though they didn't want to, I don't think.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think it was the right move.
Happen. I think they would have done it either way. I mean, like,
I think that point of them, like, where they said, like, we have to do it, like, we don't have a choice. I think that gave them, like, it made them feel a little bit better about doing it.
Right.
Like, you know, these are people we know, you know, we have to do it. So we're going to do it.
Yeah.
I like that one. All right. My number 7 was, we've already kind of talked about my number 7. It was when Coach tells Saracen no.
Yeah.
Julie's proposal.
God, I love that scene though. I swear I could talk about it again. I don't know.
When he's just sitting in his coach's chair in there. No.
He's like, what do you mean no?
What do you mean no? No.
Oh my God.
There are just so many pieces around that little storyline right there that we could just discuss for hours.
Yeah.
I honestly, I was very against Eric at that time. So I'm like, I think Julie could do a whole lot worse than Matt Saracen.
I think
she could be trying to marry one of the Riggins brothers.
Exactly.
I mean,
it was more that she was 18 and I don't know, I'm a girl mom. So if one of my girls came to me at 18 and said, I'm engaged, I don't care who she's engaged to, like, I might be like, no, like, you're way too young to be engaged right now.
I don't know. I feel like if you do that, they're gonna do what they're gonna want to do.
That's the truth though. So you have to get on board. But
I mean, the only thing I could think of was I would probably say, that's great that you're engaged. If I were you, I would probably wait a couple of years maybe to get married, live together.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not that backwards. I mean, live together. See,
I'm all for living together first.
Really, if you're
my goodness,
you know,
if
you're that young, it's so different living with somebody than it is, you know, being boyfriend and girlfriend. Live with that person.
You find out all kinds of stuff when you live.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there a lot of dirty laundry comes out when you live with somebody, literally.
Yes. Yes.
So, you know,
but yeah, and I think so, because I mean, I think that was Tammy's issue too. But I mean, and the kids threw it right back at them that you all were the same age, you know, and it's like, how do you argue with that? You know, like, you can't.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Tell my kids I was 23 before I got engaged, so there you go. My kids ask me that all the time. Elena's like, how old were you when you kissed a boy? Well, we're not going to talk about that, okay? Like, you don't need to know this.
I haven't kissed a boy yet, so
that's what I like to tell her the day I got married, and she's like, that's the first time you kissed a boy. I'm like, yeah. She doesn't believe me though. So
no, I've never lied to my kids about it. I'm like, you don't want to do. They haven't asked me.
No, she knows I'm lying, so I'm like, no.
They haven't asked me to. Maureen. See her chatting, Kenny.
You should not believe me. I'm 100% there. There's some things you don't want to tell them though. Like,
oh yeah. I mean,
they don't need to know about mom in high school.
No, they'll figure it out when they're in high school.
Exactly. I hope not. God, I hope not.
No, I think your girls, Elena may be okay.
I know, Shelby.
I don't know about Shelby.
I don't know about either one of them. Elena's too much
Scorpio.
like me, so that's the problem.
Have fun.
See?
My kid's a Scorpio too, my youngest. I feel you.
Oh no, Shelby's not a Scorpio. She's a Gemini, which is just as bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah, it's just as bad. Oh, okay.
What was your number 7?
Oh, is it my turn?
Your turn.
Yeah, my number 7 was when Tim had been, well, he not kicked out, but he up and left home because Billy was dating the neighbor that he had a relationship with. And
Yep.
God, I hated that storyline, by the way.
I did too.
But the only part of it I did like was what, he was, at that creepy guy's, that drug dealer's house. And then he took his truck and he hightailed it out of there.
Yeah.
Like, I think he was like, I'm going to go get some, whatever. And he got his truck and he just left. I was like, he is not coming back.
No.
And then he ended up at Coach's house and he was sleeping in the car. And Tammy was like, Eric, I think that's Tim. Is Tim Riggin sleeping in our driveway? And he just goes into the garage. He takes out a sleeping bag and gives it to him. Like, it was just the most obvious thing that's like, oh, you don't have a place to stay. You're staying here.
Yeah.
Everything about Tim staying at their house, I loved.
Well, Shelly was there at the time too, so that just made it really.
Well, they were just watching him like fix the cable. They were just watching him fix the cable or do something.
Yeah.
And
He's helping him.
No, I think Tammy came in at one point.
Yeah.
She was like, "What's going on with the TV? Cable's out." And they're looking outside. And she's like, "What's going on?" And like
Julie and Shelly are just watching.
or something. She's like, "Oh, come." She's like, and she looked at Shelly. She's like, "You are a grown woman."
And
Yeah.
but there was another really funny moment. I don't remember why, but it had to be while they were living together, where like Tammy wakes up like in the middle of the night, and like Tim,
They're playing ping pong.
They're playing ping pong. He's like, "What are you guys doing?" They're like, "Playing ping pong." And I mean, it's like 3 a.m. or something crazy, and she's like, "We're trying to sleep. What are you all doing?"
Yep.
So funny. But I think Eric was loving it. Here he's had a house full of women, and he had like him there and just enjoyed it.
That was some of my favorite, is when Tim was living with them.
I agree.
Up until that last moment.
So I've never been so mad at Eric in my life, except for that moment.
I know.
Yeah.
That's on my list too, that moment.
Is it?
Pretty
Mhm.
PO'd.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, also as a parent, when you walk in and you see that,
Yeah.
What else are you supposed to do?
Yeah, well, sometimes you go blind with rage. I mean,
You do.
that's why that's a saying. You go blind with rage, and
I would think I would try to get answers. I don't know. I mean,
I was more mad at Julie.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm like, all you had to do was say something, and
It's
she was
really
too
selfish.
scared to say something.
Yeah.
I'm like, that. We won't get off on that whole tangent today, but that's another whole one.
Julie.
We can talk about.
Love hate with her.
I have the same thing. I love and I hate her.
Yeah.
I have a lot of good Julie moments, and I have a lot of I don't like Julie moments.
She was, though, I mean, if I'm trying to think about it logically, though, I mean, she was a pretty typical teen as far as a character goes. So I try to give her a little.
She was a little more innocent, I feel like, than some of the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, come on. Like,
I could not stand her with that whole Swede thing. Like, she was
The Swede.
such a brat.
I
I was like, she deserved that slap to the face.
yeah,
She did. That wasn't even why she got smacked, though. She got smacked with that over a professor.
No, that was way earlier on when Tammy smacked her.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the professor's wife.
Julie's been smacked a couple times.
Oh, wrong smack. Yeah. Wrong smack.
Both deserving.
Yeah, the second one was deserving because she was 19 at that point and should have known better.
Yeah. Yeah. And she didn't know. We're getting off on a tangent, but she didn't know he's married. So I guess,
Get it together, Julie.
Yeah. Julie.
All
right.
Jeanette?
My number 6 is I have just Tami helps Tyra. That was another relationship that I just really loved.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because Tyra had no guidance in her life. Not her mom, definitely not her big sister. When Mindy got her life together later, but not, while Tyra was young, and
her mom got herself together.
They both
later
did
too.
Yeah, she really did.
But just, it meant the world. Tami is the reason that Tyra went the places that she did, because all it took was somebody, believing in her and telling her that she could accomplish these things if she wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So a combination of Tami and Julie. I think Julie's friendship did a lot for her as well, and Landry. But I think Tami was the kickoff point to that, to just showing her that she was better than what she was doing at the time.
Yeah, because Tami kind of had to work at her.
Yeah.
Tyra wasn't very open to changing or listening to her at all. And Tami worked at her, and
Tammy's also really stubborn too. So
yeah. Well, and she even had to go back, because when Tyra met that cowboy, Cash, aka Matt Dawson, another reason I don't like him.
I also don't like his name, Cash.
What a horrible name.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry if anyone out there listening has the name Cash. We probably shouldn't say that, I guess, but we're associated with his character, and
it's his character.
I've seen 2 TV shows with a character whose name was Cash, and neither one of them turned out to be really good people.
Yeah.
That's my cousin's little boy's name, but
sorry, Maureen.
He's only 3, so
yeah. Well, let's see. There's time,
Do you see?
Oh, see, it's a very Texas name, apparently.
It is.
Yeah.
See, Texas family. Yeah, there's a Cash. It's a lot more common down here, I think.
Yeah, I don't think I know any Cashes. Well, you know what? Actually,
from Johnny Cash.
Here, I shouldn't even say this. One of the little boys in Elena's class, his name is Cash, with a K.
It's
that's real trendy.
He's a real sweet kid. So
man, if you can pull off the name Cash,
yeah,
I think it's actually a really cool name. You just got to pull it off, because also I'm a huge Johnny Cash fan.
And I love Johnny Cash. That's different. Yeah, that's true. All right, we change our mind. We love Cash. Here we go. Just not this particular one.
This particular one was just awful.
True. But yeah, but Tyra fell back after meeting him, and poor Tami had to work again to get her back on track of what she was doing.
Exactly.
But I just love that relationship.
I think at that point though, Tyra wanted it. She wanted it, and I think she actually came to Tami and said, "Will you help me?"
Yeah.
Because I think at that point too, it was the guidance counselor was that guy who said that she wasn't cut out for 4-year college. First of all, I was like, what kind of guidance counselor tells that to someone who says, I want to go to college?
Who are you to say that? Yeah, no, that's kind of the opposite of your job.
No, sir, you should be fired. That is terrible. Mm-hmm. But then she went to Tami and said, Mr., whatever his name is, thinks I'm a moron. Will you help me? Well, you've done a few moronic things, but you're getting it together. You're fine.
Yeah.
He's a teenager. Yeah. Teenagers need guidance, and Tyra's home life, she had none. What do you expect a kid to grow up like if they have no structure and no guidance, and they're just raising themselves?
Yeah.
She was the most responsible person in that household.
Yeah. So not only was she raising herself, but I feel like she was raising her mom in a lot of ways. She was the parent,
Yeah, exactly. Dude, I really am glad that they kind of brought it back around, and her mom and her sister's name, Mindy made a comeback, and they really did turn around.
One of the Riggins made Mindy a better person, their relationship together.
Who'd have thunk?
You guys think that Tyra and Tim ended up together?
I mean, I think they did, but I'm not happy about it. But that's another discussion. So
I really don't know how I feel about that.
I mean, we really never know. So
it's because Tyra belongs with Landry. I don't care for this at all.
yeah, I don't know if she belongs with him or if that was just a.
I don't know who Tyra belongs with, but I don't think it's Landry.
Well,
Lance.
I'd like them
whatever his
together,
name
though.
is.
Landry. I don't know who Lance belongs with. I just said
messed you
I
up,
meant to
didn't
do
I?
Landry.
Landry, poor guy.
I don't know who he belongs with. I mean, I feel like him and Tyra just went through a huge life-altering thing together. And I think that's, I don't know. That's a whole nother podcast.
And Tim, of course, belongs with, Lila, but beside the point.
Well, that didn't end up happening.
I know. That's the one thing I don't like about the ending of the show.
Yeah. All right, number 6. Are we on number 6? Did you do?
I did my number 6. It's your turn.
All right. So I'm actually going to start switching mine around.
Okay.
I think my number 6 will be when Eric is jealous of Tammy's coworker.
Oh,
The other guy, he's just chilling in his office eating chips, talking to her, and Eric walks in.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's like of all the people to be jealous of, like
not him. No. Although that guy did like Tammy, so obviously Eric was picking up on something.
And he did kiss her at that. I think it was happy hour or something.
Yeah, and there was something behind it, but Tammy, I think, was just oblivious to it at the beginning.
I think she was just coming off maternity leave, and she's had a friend, and I think that's all she was thinking about at the time. I mean, she wasn't
thinking anything romantically about it.
Plus, I don't think she's a jealous person, so it probably didn't even cross her mind. Like, she doesn't strike me as somebody who worries about that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I loved what happened after, how Eric found out, because I think he just brought it up to Eric. He was like, I just wanted to apologize to you.
Yeah.
And then like he mentioned, he talked about what it was, and then Eric's just sitting there smiling. He's like, well, I don't know what to say to that. like, okay, Glenn, that's his name. It's like,
Glenn,
all right, Glenn. It's like,
that took
like
some
he kind of
nerve.
just chuckled. He was like, I don't know what to say.
There's no way I would tell Eric Taylor.
No.
Just his wife. He's the scariest person.
Yeah, when he did that, I was like, ooh, that's pretty gutsy. Like,
yeah. No way. I felt scared. I felt very scared for Glenn in that moment.
Yeah.
I didn't know
like,
how he was going to react.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, poor Glenn. This is how it ends.
But I do remember when he came into her office and Glenn's all propped up with his feet on. He's like, Glenn, I'd like to talk to my wife, and he's like, basically like, get out. Like, I love a jealous Eric. I mean, I know probably a lot of women out there are like, oh, you like a jealous man, but sometimes I do. Like, it's something manly and sweet. I don't know. I like it.
Because they don't do it very often. You only see little glimpses of it, and that's a natural human emotion, is jealousy.
Yeah. I know not everyone has that emotion. That's fine. But I mean, I think when, like in his case, I mean, it showed how much he loved his wife and how much he was like being protective of her. Like, no, that's my wife. Like, you don't get to talk to her like that or spend this time with her. And I loved how like Tammy just kind of laughed it off. Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, definitely. Eve, what's your number 6?
My number 6 is at the other end of the series with Vince. And I'm trying to remember what the situation was, something to do with his dad. He was basically throwing a big temper tantrum in Coach's office, like screaming. It's like, no one taught me to be better. And then I think, not Miguel, the other coach who came with him. I don't know, he just popped his head in, and Eric is sitting there like really calm. I don't know if I could be that calm with, a teenage boy screaming in my face like that, but he just sits there, he's like, everything's fine here, close that door, Coach.
I forgot about that part, but that's a good one.
And I think
it shows his.
Yeah, and it was something about how he said, I didn't say you have to be better. I said you have to strive to be better.
Yep.
Poor Vince.
He's just such a good The character is so amazing. It really is. I mean,
and Michael B. Jordan too.
Credit.
I love it. Well, I mean, like, I just loved how he was there for Vince. He's been there for so many of them, but Vince needed it, and he
probably saved that kid's life. I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's even a scene where he's talking to him, probably in the last couple episodes, where he's basically saying, like, if I lose this coaching job, I'll just get another coaching job. If you lose this, you know where you're going to end up. And I mean, he's basically saying you're going to end up just like, in jail or worse, and basically telling you got to work for this. So
yep,
definitely saved him.
He did. He saved a lot of those kids.
Mm-hmm.
So did Tami. I mean, both of them.
Yeah.
They really cared about their jobs.
Yeah.
They're not, I mean, it wasn't, I don't feel like it was even a job for them.
No, it was just it was just who they are.
Yeah, it was who they are. It's what they did. It was just their persons. I mean,
yeah,
it was them. They would do it for anybody, even if it was one of their students or not.
Yeah.
That's what I think is so likable about them as
good people.
Characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Jeanette, number 5.
My number 5 is another funny coach moment.
Yay.
And it's where he walks in on Matt and Julie after they've had sex for the first time.
Yes. I was going to put it on my list, but I knew you were, so I left it off.
I mean, I don't care. I'll never forget the look on his face in that episode. And I mean, we didn't know what he saw at first. We just knew he walked in and he walked straight back out to his car. And I mean, just the look. I mean, he's sitting there like fuming. And then you see, of course, Julie come out.
Well, I knew something like that was going to happen because like right before that, like Tami called Eric and said, "Oh, I was supposed to pick Julie up at Matt's house. Can you do it?" I was like, "Oh no."
Yeah.
Because we already
knew
knew
it been any better for Tami to walk in?
I think Tami would have flipped out right there. Whereas Eric just went on to the car.
Whereas Eric was like, "I don't know how to respond to this. I'm just going to turn around and walk back to the car."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
And I always love how, like when he told Tami, in the same, just like he told Tami when Matt proposed, he always wants to say, "Your daughter did this," whenever it's something like that. And my husband and I do this all the time. Not usually about my kids because they're young and but like if the dog like that, I'll be like, "Your dog did this," and it's always yours whenever they're acting up. I just think it's so funny.
I do that with my children all the time.
Yeah,
I'm like, "Your son." It's not mine at that point right now.
No, they're never ours when they're being bad, so
no. I'm like, "Your child."
This is your problem.
Yeah,
exactly. You go deal with this because I can't.
Because mom is done.
I'm tapped out. You're being tapped in. I'm done. Can't help it. All right. So what number? We're on number 5.
5.
Eve?
Yep, my number 5 is another example of Tami and Eric, how they're fighting, but they're still supporting each other. There was that kid DeMarcus. I don't know why I remember his name. He lied to his parents about being on the football team. Like he didn't tell his parents about it. Yeah. And then Eric and Tami went over there to talk to his parents, and on the way there, he said, "Just let me do all the talking." And then Tammy's like, "Oh, yes, okay, you do all the talking." I was like, she is not going to let him do any talking. So then they walk in, like she says her piece, and they walk out, and he's like pissed. She's like, "Oh," and like he opens the door for her, and she's like, "Oh, you're opening the door for me? Oh, that's so sweet." It's like at that point, she's purposely trying to make him like blow his lid.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell it's coming too.
That's so funny.
It's like, I'm just gonna sit here and like push every button. Like they knew how to push each other's buttons.
Oh yeah,
and it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
definitely. Amanda, did you do your number 5?
I don't know.
I don't think you did.
Go ahead and read it, and then we'll let you know.
Did I not? Well, I'm all flippy flop now.
No, you didn't do one.
Okay. Oh, okay, me turn. Yay.
Yay.
Let's say, I'll do this one. All right.
Just close
Eric,
your eyes and point.
no, I know my number one, but the rest of them, I just put them in here because I love them all.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with Eric making it in time for Gracie's birth. But
Okay.
I do have something to add on to it.
Okay.
I watched the scene, I don't know, last week, maybe, like preparing for this one. And why does the nurse give him like baseball signals whenever she's giving birth? Does anybody else notice that? And
I didn't notice that at all.
why?
I didn't notice that.
What are you doing?
I don't know.
Maybe I just don't know baseball enough to have noticed that. But now that you mention it, it's really weird. It's like, this isn't a baseball show.
I never realized it the first time I watched it through. And when I rewatched it just last week, this one episode, I was like, what? And I rewound it. I was like, what was that?
I'm gonna have to go watch that right after we get off here because I don't.
You're gonna have to watch it.
I need to see it now too.
I was like, does she meaning like she's gonna go right now? Like this is it, or like
I don't know. That's so strange. I'll have to check it out.
It's like
Maybe
I
she thought he was a
words. What's
baseball
happening?
coach instead.
I'm like, this show has nothing to do about baseball. Why are we doing baseball signals right now?
That's so funny.
But yeah, Eric making it in time for Gracie's birth because I really didn't know if he was going to make it in time.
Yeah.
He's pushing and he's like, they're filming him on a plane. And I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah. And that would have, oh God, can you imagine if he didn't make it?
Oh.
That would have just been bad.
I mean, he quit that job right after that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Buddy found a loophole to get that other coach fired and then brought Eric back.
Yeah.
Is that when did he go back to Panthers or was that when he went to East Dillon? Oh my gosh.
To the Panthers.
Panthers for
one
for
season.
a little bit longer. Yeah.
And then he went to East Dillon. Maybe it's time for me just to do a whole other rewatch.
He was with the Panthers for the first 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Lions were the last 2, I think.
Then when was Gracie Bell born?
Gracie Bell was born beginning of season 2.
So he was still with the Panthers.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something I keep forgetting. I keep forgetting that Gracie Bell came into the picture much earlier on.
I feel like she was there that soon, but
yeah.
I always feel like it's much later in the series that she comes, and I'm like, oh wait, there she is.
Yeah. All
right. So that was my number 5, I guess.
Okay. So number 4.
Mm-hmm.
I have is when Eric is comforting Jason about being a dad, because Jason, I think after he finds out he's going to have a baby, he's kind of freaking out. He's been trying to flip that house, and
isn't that what every man typically does when they find out they're going to be a dad? Because one of my best friends just recently, like his wife just had a baby, and I saw him like a few days before, and he was talking to my parents. He's like, I'm freaking out. Like, I don't know anything about being a dad. I was like, you figure it out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, if you're worried,
the person who has no kids.
Well, but it's true. And if you're worried about it, that means you probably are going to be a good one because you're actually concerned about
you're concerned. You're worried. I mean, that's
How do you learn
about being a parent?
If you're worried about being a good parent, then you probably are.
Yeah.
I mean, me and my husband look at each other sometimes. We're like, our kids will do something like funny or like cute, and we'll look at each other. We're like, okay, we're doing something okay.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know. Because really, I mean, being a parent, and any of those parents out there listening, you really don't know.
It's all trial and error. I mean,
you don't know if you're doing okay or not.
Yeah.
I mean, my kids seem happy and they play and they eat and they thrive.
And they're alive.
Yeah. That's all you can do, But no, this moment, like, I just loved it because, I love all of Eric's moments where he's like giving advice to one of his players. And I love it even more when it's a moment like this where it's not even about the football game. It's just about life, and it's about I think that's just one of those things that just really shows his character, and that, you know, he was there for him. Like, this has nothing to do with football. Jason's not his player anymore. You know, I mean, he didn't have to be that person to come and give him the pep talk, but he did. And
I do love about that. I like that him and Jason's relationship kind of stayed, you know, throughout the series. You would think it would be kind of like once Jason was out of the football team, it kind of, you know, I thought they would like bring him back a little bit, but I liked how he was still on the show so much. We still kind of got that his own little storyline that has a little bit to do with football, but not all football based.
Yeah.
You know, you got to see his life. And then when they brought him back the later season to talk to coach about coaching somewhere else, it's kind of like, oh,
yeah,
you know, that was nice of them to do it that way.
I was so happy to see him. I was like, it's Jason. And then we didn't see him again after that. It's like, oh, well, never mind.
And now he's in Ginny and Georgia.
Yeah, we can see him anytime we want.
Yay. All right. Number 4.
No. Yeah.
Who's it? My turn?
Number 4. One of you.
Okay, my number 4, and we mentioned it a little bit earlier, right after Matt's dad died, he was, you know, kind of spinning. And I think he was at the landing strip, and then his grandma was in the hospital for some reason. I don't think it was anything really major, but he was like drunk. Like, and the hospital eventually called Eric to come take Lorraine home because they didn't know what else to do. And he gets her all settled, and he's like, no, I don't need a sandwich, I'm good, you know, the typical. And then he closes the door, looks at Matt, and like takes him by the collar and shoves him into the bathroom and turns the shower on.
Yep.
And then Matt's just sitting there. He's like, you know, you left me for a better job. Your daughter left me for another guy. You know, my dad left me for a war. And then Carlota, she was like, she left me, you know, for, where was she from?
Guatemala.
And I was like, oh God, this poor kid.
I know.
But I love it.
He was going down.
Yeah, and then he was like, you know, nobody wants me. And then Coach just kind of sat down and, no, son, that's not true.
Yeah, I think he said something about like, I just watched this one too because I almost put it on the list, but something about, he says, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think that's what's wrong with me. He's like, there's nothing wrong.
He's like, there's
that part killed me. Oh my gosh. It really
mad. I do wish Eric, I'm like, you could turn the water off now. I mean, clearly he's going through something. I mean, but I guess he needed to still. That's what I love about Eric. It's like this tough love, but he's still such a kind soul at the same time. Like it's the really good mixture, I think.
I feel like he knows when to turn that on and off.
Yeah.
You know, he always kind of has that.
Yeah, like he knew in that moment Matt was struggling, but he needed tough love.
Yeah.
He was like, you know, I know you're struggling, but dude, you got to get it together.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I mean, his dad was in the military, and he's always been in football, so I think he's always kind of known that. I don't know what the word I'm trying to think of right now, that tough love, that kind of hard exterior, you know, there's not that much warmth, but he had his grandmother, and I think that he got the warmth from her. Obviously, I mean, he doesn't see his mom
ever. Yeah.
Oh, isn't she? I love grandma. All right, so my number 4 is just Eric calling Landry Lance, because that was, I mean, honestly, it was one of my favorite. I mean, we have already talked about it, but it's one of my favorite ongoing jokes.
Yeah,
and it was like the first couple times, I'm like, why do you're confusing me? Because then I started calling him Lance because they were calling him Lance.
Yeah,
and it was just. It was one of my earliest.
He just stopped arguing with him and just answering to it, like, you know.
Because at first he was trying to correct Coach, and then Coach didn't know what he was talking about.
I know. He didn't care. He's like, just do it.
Like, that's not my name. My name's Landry. He's like, Lance. Like, okay, well, I guess that's his name now. Like, And then especially after Matt left, it was like mostly not many people were around to really call him Landry. So
I have another good one. It's kind of gonna be, since we already talked about this one, we can talk about this one. And it has to do with Landry as well. It's when he made him kicker.
Yeah.
But I've never done that. Get out there and do it.
I was like, go for it.
Like, you're the kicker now. And I was like, this poor kid has no idea what the heck he's doing.
No. He gave him like no guidance. He's like, go kick the ball.
But he pulled it off when he needed to.
He did.
So
like Eric knows what he's doing, even though sometimes you're like, what are you doing? He knows what he's doing.
I mean, he sounds crazy a lot of the times, but it's like, I have to trust that he knows what he's doing. I just don't know where he's going with this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love that part though. It always sticks out to me.
Yeah.
That and when he's throwing, we talked about this on the last podcast, when he was throwing the ball to Saracen in the street.
Yeah.
You can catch all these, we'll give you the position.
He caught everyone.
Except
until the last one, I guess, but still. Yeah.
Oh, Eric. All right. Jeanette, number
3 goes back to the Julie and Matt having sex, but this one is, this was my moment on my number 1 moment on the last podcast, but Tammy's talk with Julie.
Yeah.
I'll just say it again because I just think it was one of the best like mother-daughter conversations that I've ever seen on TV.
Oh yeah. I agree.
Just the way she conveyed, like, like just because you did this doesn't mean you have to do it again. Because that's not something you hear. I mean, you hear people, that preaching, no sex before marriage and you don't need to do this and whatever, but you don't hear anyone saying like, okay, just because you've done this, it doesn't mean you have to do it again with him or with anyone else in the future. Like each time it's your choice. It's you get to decide what to do with your body. Yeah. So it was a really important conversation. One that, I'm legit like locking it into my brain.
Oh yeah.
In the next few years with my daughters, because it was just
have that scene ready to go. It's like,
yeah,
okay, just watch Tammy. She knows what she's talking about.
No, take out all the weirdness. Like, okay, here, let's sit down, girls. Let's watch this. Yeah.
I listen to Connie Britton. She's got it together.
She's got some advice for you. Okay.
I just bought my boys a book. I don't know.
I've looked at these books before and I think they're creepy and weird. I'm like, I can't even no, we're just.
Yeah, I look at some of those books in the bookstore. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I'm a teacher, not a parent.
They're so descriptive. I
get
they are.
Yeah,
but
I get
sometimes you gotta be like that with your kids. You gotta be just.
I get to be like, that's a question for mom and dad. I
don't do that. You got the easy job here.
Right. See, man, at least you got sons. I swear if I had sons, I'd be like, okay, dad, go ask your dad. But no, I've got daughters. And so he'll be like, ask your mom. Like, or they wouldn't even dare ask him. Wouldn't even dare.
All right, number 3. Are we on number 3?
Yes.
Already? All right. Yes. So Jeanette, is it your turn or is it my turn? You just went.
I just did mine.
I'm answering my own questions.
There you go.
Good job, Amanda.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do this one because we've already kind of dipped into it. So I'll get this one out of the way. It's when Eric gives up his job for her dean position in Philly. Like I said earlier, it was on my list. That's your number 1?
That's my number 1.
Yeah, that's. And I was actually reading an entire blog about this one moment. And it was talking about, it was talking about actually them as a couple. And it just kept bringing it back to this because their whole thing in the show was compromise.
Mm-hmm.
They compromised for each other.
Yeah.
Through the entire series.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, his biggest compromise was completely leaving Texas and, giving up his home that he refused to move out of, which always irritated me.
Never even got her closet that she wanted so badly.
His and hers closets.
Yeah, she deserved it.
And she even put it on the first episode. She even put it on the fridge and everything.
Yeah, she's cutting it out.
5 years, he wouldn't give her that closet.
That always irritated me when she'd go and take him to look at that house.
The house was so beautiful. Yes.
She was a principal at the time and he's a coach. I feel like he was just so.
It wasn't even a fancy looking house either. I was like, it seemed like a very
modest house.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the word I was looking for. It seemed like a very modest house. I was like, I think they could swing it. Like, I mean, I don't know how much a high school football coach makes, but in Texas, probably a pretty penny.
A state winning coach.
Yeah,
you're doing. I mean, you're not rolling in the bucks, but
you're probably doing pretty well though, and especially, and probably even a principal at that school would make a decent.
They're not, pinching pennies either. So
right.
I think he was just scared of his. I think he was comfortable.
Yeah.
But I always expected him to like buy her the house and like surprise her with it, and it just
never.
I wish that one, even if it was the end, we could have seen like her dancing around in her dang his and her closets.
She deserved those closets for sure.
His and her closets. His and hers closets.
Yeah.
Like give the poor lady her own closet. That's all she's asking for in her life here.
Yeah. Well, she was probably so. I mean, like, not that their house was. I don't know. I mean, their house they lived in was pretty small for like a teenager and a baby too. Like, I mean, it was pretty.
Yeah. When I saw that Gracie Belle had her own room, I was like, how many rooms can you fit in that house? Like, it didn't really seem that big.
I think it was a 3-bedroom.
Their rooms weren't that big. If you remember seeing Eric and Tammy's room, I feel like it wasn't like it was this giant bedroom. It was, you know.
It wasn't. But that was my number 3. Jeanette, what's your number 3?
I already did mine.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, the talk.
Oh, that was number 3. Okay, so number 2. What's your number 2?
Well, I didn't do my number 3 yet.
Oh, well, Eve, we don't want you to talk anymore. Okay.
Amanda.
My time is up.
You're done. Bye.
I'm dismissed. Okay,
what was your number 2? 3.
You're skipping my number 3. My number 3 was, again, it was after Matt's dad died. And Tammy went with Matt to the funeral home. And she was helping him with the funeral arrangements. And she kind of said, you know what, I think we're almost done here. Why don't you just go out to the car? And then she looked at the guy and said, do you really think that boy can pay for his father's funeral? Then she's like, okay, let's start over from the beginning. I was like, how many people sit there and go over funeral arrangements like piece by piece by piece like that for, someone they didn't
not
even
related.
know? Yeah.
Not related to him. I mean, like, yeah.
I was kind of confused with that because I know like the military won't, they're not going to pay for all that, but I feel like he was pretty much a single father who died, even though the grandmother was raising him. So I feel like the military should have done something. I don't know if they do that or not. I'm not from a military family, but
I don't know.
I love that part that she stood in for him and she realized that was so hard for him, even though he wasn't I don't feel like he was very close to his father.
Yeah.
It was kind of scary. I mean, his mother wasn't in his life. Now his dad is gone. That has to be really scary at that age.
Well, how hard? I mean, like, I feel like planning your parents' funeral would be so hard either way. And then, it's a 17-year-old kid. I mean, I can't even imagine having to do that. So I forgot all about Tammy doing that, but that's really awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that too. Good job, Eve. I'm glad I let you speak.
We needed her to say that.
You should let me speak more often. I say interesting things sometimes.
No, we cap you off here. You're done.
That's it.
JK, I love you. All right. I'm done giving who's next because I have no idea. I'm just here.
My number 2. We actually haven't said this yet, so I'm really surprised.
Yay.
It's when Tammy tells Eric that she's pregnant with Gracie Belle.
That's my number 2.
Jinx, lucky pair. I was wondering why this hadn't been said yet because I was like, this is like a really good moment.
I know, when they're out in that balcony.
Yeah, because
that was my number 1.
Well, they were okay. That's why we had.
That's why it hasn't been.
I have a couple honorable mentions though, so I'll just pull from that.
Good.
But it's so sweet because like she's worried the whole episode how he's going to react, whether he's going to be upset or whatever. And she even says, like, I don't know how you're going to do this. And as soon as she says it, I mean, he just instantly smiles. I mean, it's just a really great moment between the two of them and how happy he is. And I don't know.
Because he had a really bad night.
Yeah. And it could have went either way, because I mean, like, hearing that you're going to have a brand new baby could have completely freaked you out. But no, he was so happy.
When he already has I don't know how old she was at the time, 16.
Like 16, yeah. That would be
16-year-old, and all of a sudden you're having another one.
A moody, bratty 16-year-old. Now you're doing it all over again.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be too happy.
No,
but
I think
they were
devastated.
They were happy, and that's what they wanted. And awesome.
Well, remember what Smash's mom told her, like at the clinic? She's like, "So, how pregnant do you want to be? Because you're really pregnant."
How pregnant do you want to be?
I don't know.
Like, wow, that's a little. That's an interesting thing to say to the coach's wife. But then again, it was Smash's mom. She had
they had a relationship there.
Yeah,
I love her. She was a really good character too.
She was.
Corinne.
Yeah,
I think it's just Corinne.
I think it is. Okay, so we've done Amanda's 2. Eve, what's your number 2?
My number 2 was when Coach apologized to Tim after he found out what happened with Julie. Yeah. Like he like marched over to the Riggins house, and it was right after they'd stolen that money from the drug dealer, and they were like flipping out, and then Billy was like, "Oh wait, it's Coach, it's okay." That's a whole nother thing. We need to do a Riggins podcast.
We need a Riggins podcast for sure.
But anyway, he said, as not just as a father, but as a man, it's like, what you did was honorable, and I made a mistake, and I apologize to you. I was like, Tim, relish in this, because he's never going to apologize to you for anything else ever again.
No, that's it.
Because Coach didn't do that. He did not come out and apologize to the kids ever.
No.
And the fact that he did that, I was like, wow, he must be really thankful to Tim right now.
Yeah. Well, I think he realized how wrong he was, and I mean, that he had to right that wrong, because.
And he'd had plenty of time to calm down after all of that. And then when he found out what really happened, it was Julie who he was pissed at.
Yeah. Julie.
Yep.
Stupid
Julie.
Not one of her finer moments.
So.
Poor Julie.
There with the Swede. Yeah.
Oh, she's just living and learning.
I know. Give Julie a break, I guess.
Let her learn.
Number 1 moments.
My number 1 is when Eric agrees to move to Philadelphia. So we kind of talked about that, but I mean, all I'll say is it was just, I mean, this is probably the only time that he's ever compromised. I mean, everything else has always been, Tami has compromised for him, whatever he needed, whatever he wanted in his career.
Yep.
She's been right there to back him. So it was time. I mean, I didn't want him to see him leave Texas either. And maybe somewhere in my mind, I think that one day they'll come back. But I mean, it was time for her to get her turn.
It was. And I mean, I hated them yanking Eric around from Panthers to, East Dillon, and them smashing the teams together and making a super team. And then just, I mean, that would get tiring. That would get old.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Panthers pretty much badmouthed Eric, and now they want him to go coach these kids that he's already been badmouthed about.
Yeah, I was like, that chance, like, I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder too, like, I mean, I know he says he went for Tami, but I always wonder in the back of my mind, was some of it because you were too proud to go back to the Panthers? Like, I just wondered, like, I don't know. Because I don't know if I'd want to go back to them.
I wouldn't. I'm too proud.
Yeah.
That's just my personality. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Whose turn is it? I'm all confused now.
Do you have a number? Do you have any left, Amanda?
I do.
Well, then you can say your last one.
Oh, okay. So my number 1 is actually kind of a twofer. And it's actually 2 of my favorite quotes that they kind of did. But both kind of around the same time, I think.
I'm really intrigued now.
I know, right? All right. So, but they're very short. They're very quick, but they're just funny to me. And I had to pull them up because I am doing a quote, so I didn't want to misquote them. So it's right after that Matt leaves their house, and remember they walked in and Julie and Matt were under a blanket.
Oh my gosh, I almost put this on there. Yeah.
And just Eric saying they had a blanket.
Got a blanket.
Tami, you're an idiot.
I love that. She just looked at him like, you are an idiot.
I almost put that on my list.
I put Matt on my number one. You're an idiot. Because I'm like, it's just so
normal.
It's normal. It's a normal conversation of, she had his back through everything, but she just turned to him at these moments and be like,
yeah,
you're being an idiot. Like, stop.
Right. Although I was with Eric on that one. Like, no good comes from y'all cuddling with a blanket. Like, we all know we were all teens. Like, no blankets in my house. Like, you have your own individual blankets.
Yeah,
but it's cold in there because Eric likes to keep it cold. I was like, I can't believe they're having this conversation with poor Matt sitting there. And Matt just gets up. He's like, I think I should go now.
They had a blanket. You're an idiot. So also another one of mine is when, I don't know, I can't remember where it's exactly from, but I can see him in my head. Eric is like pacing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tammy's like, honey, will you stop pacing, please? He's like, what do you suppose they're doing in there? Tammy, probably having sex. He just loves to rile him up sometimes.
Yeah.
Because she knows that's what he's thinking in his head. He's thinking the worst case scenario. And
I wonder, when was that? I wonder, but I do remember that.
I want to say it was the exact same.
Yeah, it's probably the same one
evening.
Before he went out.
The same
with the blanket. Yeah.
I think it was.
And then and then he was like, I'm going to go out there. And she's sitting there. She's like, no.
I'll do that. So yeah, those are my number one moments because they make me happy and they make me smile and it's relatable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like those too.
Eve, did we say your number one, Eve?
We did. It was when they found out Tami was pregnant. But I'm gonna go with one of my honorable mentions I had. Again, after Matt's dad died, he went over to the Taylor's house for dinner and he was drunk and he was upset. Yeah. And he just kind of stormed out of the house. And Julie's freaking out. She's like, we can't let him go home like that. Coach just walks out. He kind of stands there and says, I'm gonna walk you home. Yeah. He just puts his hand on his shoulder and then they walk home. Good moment. Yeah.
That was a very sweet moment. He knew he needed a father figure at that time.
Yeah.
Just
that was a rough time for Matt.
It was.
He went through a ton of emotions because, like you mentioned earlier, he didn't have a good relationship with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think it occurred to him that, he doesn't get any more chances to fix it. So.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. It's done. It's over. You can't do anything else about it. I mean,
yeah.
As harsh as that may sound.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
Yeah. Sorry. All right. So that was it, guys.
Did we have any moments from the group? I don't remember if we posted anything.
I think we did actually. Hold 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. All my what ifs today. I'm enjoying some people's answers.
Yeah.
Oh, those have been fun to read. Yeah.
Do you enjoy my answer about the Vampire Diaries? What if Stefan left? Or what if Stefan and Elena stayed together?
Yes, I laughed. Okay. We have one from Terrence. And that was one of his favorites is after the baby was born and Eric wanted alone time, but Tami was just too tired. And I think that was a good one. That showed real life and real parenting and,
yeah,
she's tired. She just had a baby. She's exhausted and he's wanting attention.
Again, it was such a real scene because, he was being patient, but he was being a little pushy at the same time. He was just which I think is understandable. I don't know. I've only experience this from the woman's perspective, and it's not really the first thing on your mind after you've had a baby. But I can understand where the husband's perspective is just wanting to be close to their wife again. So I mean, it was really funny the way he just kept egging it on, like, and trying to be like cool, but definitely wanting to make it happen.
And didn't she like come home? I think she came home from it was like bunko night or something. And, like, she came home and she was like, I just heard the funniest story about these women. They were talking about how their husbands were trying to get them ready for sex after having a baby and they're not ready. Honey, isn't that just so funny? I was like, Eric, that is code for she knows what you're doing, and stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Their banter is just the best. I mean,
it really is.
There was another moment that stuck out. It was towards the end, where she says something about, like, when she's talking about wanting to move to Philadelphia, and she's like, I've been a coach's wife for 18 years. And he's like, I'm well aware of the time. And just the way they like spit back at each other, I mean, just always made me laugh. He's like, I'm well aware. I'm like, you don't have to tell me, like, what you do.
Like, I've been there. Trust me.
Yeah. I don't know. I just loved them.
All right. Is that it, guys?
So I guess that's all that we have. Did you all like our choices? Were there any moments that we forgot or missed? We'd love to hear from you. You can email us at familyfanclub2021@gmail.com. If you have suggestions for future discussions you'd like to hear, we want to know about that too. Also, make sure to check out our Facebook group, Friday Night Lights Dylan Family Fan Club. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Family Fan Clubs. And you can also now find us on TikTok at FB Family Fan Clubs. Make sure to rate us and subscribe for future episodes. You can tune in Sunday and hear us discussing This Is Us. I think specifically Kevin is what we're going to be discussing.
Yes.
And then come back again next Wednesday for a discussion of season 2 of The Vampire Diaries. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.